the McDonald's.
Welcome to another Full Access Friday. Thank you all for being here. We got a big show. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. But first and foremost, I wanted to tell everybody that when I told everyone to go and contact their senators, you obviously did a good job because they have come back to Washington and they have stopped putting these judges on. They basically made a deal with Chuck Schumer, and the deal was that they were not going to do the highest level judges at all as long as they got a couple of extra lower level judges. So the lower level judges are not nearly as important as the higher level judges, the Court of Appeals, the ones that if the Supreme Court doesn't take the case, that's it. It's over. So I wanted to start with that because that was definitely important. This is Mike Davis, who again was my number one choice, but I'm excited about Pam Bondi, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But this was Mike talking to Bannon recently just about the developments and how they stopped some of these judges.
Democrats made a deal, and this was a big win for our side. It was a big win for the war room because we lit up the Senate and got Senate Republicans to show up and vote and force these votes to grind the Senate to a halt, which was really important because now what we've had is that Senate Democrats, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, and Senate Democrats have said they're not going to try to confirm 4 circuit judges to the critically important federal courts of appeals. So based upon my numbers, it looks like President Trump was able to confirm 234 Article 3 judges in his first term, including 54 judges to the critically important federal.
Let me stop it right there. And this is why I like Mike Davis so much. He said 234, not just judges, Article 3 judges, meaning what? From the Article 3 project. Trump listens to the grassroots.
Courts of appeals. President Biden, after this deal, I think he's going to be one short of that. I think he's going to be at 233, and he's going to only be at 45 federal appellate court judges. So we're in a very good place with this deal. Look, if the Senate Democrats wanted to, if they wanted to grind this out, they would have confirmed these. They would have confirmed these circuit judges first, the 4 circuit judges to these critically important federal courts of appeals, and then they would have probably been able to confirm the rest of these district court judges over the course between now and the end of the holidays. But by coming to this deal, by taking these 4 circuit judges completely off the table, this is a big win for our side.
There you go. So that goes to show you that when we talk about giving out phone numbers and contacting senators and stop what you're doing and make the phone calls, we can win these battles. We're not going to win them all. We're not going to win them all, but we are going to put the pressure and try to win as many of them as we can. Now, what I want to do is I want to go through and I want to talk about, before we get into some of the other things, Matt Gaetz has made an interesting comment. The comment is that he, quote, will not return to Congress. However, he will be put into a position to, quote, tell stories of corruption, treason, and betrayal. So I have my thoughts on what he's going to do, but I want to hear all from you. So, Glenn, we'll start with you. What do you think is next for Matt Gaetz?
I really don't know. It's like you, it surprised the shit out of me that he was even picked.
It did. It shocked me, like I said in the other show.
And then a lot of people are saying that he stepped down, because of all the pressure, which I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Here's what I have, and this is from somebody really close to the transition team, and here's how things went down. According to my sources from the Trump that are close to the Trump transition team, here's what happened. Apparently, Matt got a call from President Trump late on Wednesday night, and Trump did not tell him to withdraw. He simply stated that he knows that there are at least 5 solid no votes on him. The usual suspects, right? Collins, Murkowski, Mullins, and this newest headache is going to be what's his name? John
Romney.
Curtis in Utah. Total rhino. You know, we got rid of Romney, and now we put in this John Curtis guy, and we're stuck with him for 6 years. So basically, he was calling to let him know that it's going to be a no vote. That doesn't mean you can't be recess appointed, because you can. But then here's what happened. They told him that the rhinos were going to get together with the Democrats, and they were going to do whatever humanly possible to stall him from being recessed appointed. In other words, they weren't going to bring him up for a vote. They were going to fill up, they were going to do all kinds of things, and he wouldn't even have had a vote until late February or early March. So, of course, when he was told that, Gaetz said, Mr. President, absolutely not. You need an AG on day one. I will withdraw. Trump said, no problem, Matt. We will try to find you something else. And apparently, the backup plan was Pam Bondi all along, according to my sources. So that's kind of what has happened here. Let's see. Carl, let's ask you. So you heard what Matt said. He said that he will not be returning to Congress, but he'll be in a position to, quote, tell stories of corruption, treason, and betrayal. What do you think that means?
I don't know.
You don't know either. Okay. What about you, Liam? What do you think that means?
I'm trying to think. So I guess he's not going into the Senate, which I thought there were rumors of, but I could have misheard. Tell stories of corruption. I mean, well, does that mean in the House investigations, in the media? I mean,
Not sure.
sorry, yeah, I'm kind of blanking there. I mean, it's
Okay.
like as
What
long
about you,
as it's
Bob?
being effective.
What do you think, Bob?
I think, well, number one, it surprised the pants off of me when they picked him, but I think that he's going to start a United States tour and do Biden story time. But the thing that gets me about him is that they got a lot of dirt on him, but he's probably in a position where he's got a lot of dirt on a lot of people. And I got a feeling that he's going to tell some stories about people that they don't want to hear.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, like be a little snitch, or what they call them whistleblowers.
Okay, gotcha.
But as far as I really don't even know what kind of a story he'd do other than just like spill the beans on people's dirty laundry. But he's got to watch it himself too.
Gotcha. What about you, Pam? What are your thoughts here? He said he's going to be in a position to expose corruption, treason, and betrayal.
Okay, so I don't know, but now the people that are keeping him from voting him, getting voted in, with a delay, they were going to delay him a month or so. Why are they backing Pam Bondi?
Well, because well, we're going to get into that. She is somebody that is closer, believe it or not, to President Trump. She is someone that has more experience than Matt. She's a female, so it's going to be hard to kind of filibuster her. A lot of people are saying, because she is female, and she's ran the third largest Department of Justice, basically, in Florida. The state of Florida is the third largest state, so she has that type of gravitas that Matt didn't have. And apparently, from what I'm understanding, Trump has backups ready to go for all of these positions if there's an issue or a problem. I mean, this has been well thought out. Look, when you're going to win a campaign and you're going to win a race, you start your transition team months beforehand, okay? Heels Up Headboard Harris did not have a transition team at all. Nothing was even started or talked about because they probably knew they weren't going to win. He knew he was going to win probably somewhere in August, because he started assembling his team around, I think, the early to mid-September area. So he's been at this, for a long time. And not only that, he's learned what to do and what not to do. Like I said in the other show the other night, he has completely taken the State Department and the transition rules and protocols and thrown them in the garbage. He's not talking to the State Department. No one's listening to any of his phone calls and things like that to avoid people being obviously moles and things like that. But it's not perfect. He's got a couple of people in there, unfortunately, that are still moles. But let me go to you, Walter. What do you think Matt is talking about? He says he's not going to go back to Congress, but he will be in a position to expose corruption, treason, and betrayal.
Maybe Trump is going to create a new Department of Corruption, whose sole purpose is to dig out corruption within the government. He already has the Doge to deal with the financial end of it. So why not create something to deal with the corruption part of it?
Like a corruption czar, perhaps.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't have to get Senate approval.
Mm-hmm. And remember, czars can be created with a simple executive order from a president. That's how a border czar was created. That's how so many other czars, remember they had all these different czars in the last administration. Executive orders, sadly, can just create those people. But what about you, Carol? What are your thoughts on this? So Matt Gaetz says, not going back to Congress, not taking my old seat back, not running for my old seat, but I'm going to be in a position to expose corruption, treason, and betrayal. What do you think he's going to be doing?
Whatever it is, they're going to wish he'd have done some of those other things. I think they've got a plan that's sinisterly good.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I was hoping one of you, I think Bob was the closest to kind of getting where I'm thinking here. What I think is going to happen is Matt is going to go into media. And I think that not only is Matt going to go into media, but I think he's going to have a position like a Tucker Carlson. And he's going to tell it all. Because think about it. Gaetz announces he will not return to Congress, says he will tell stories of corruption, treason, and betrayal. It's the word stories that makes my brain immediately think that. Now, it gets better. Because it's now been confirmed that MSNBC is going to be sold. Okay? They are going to sell it because it's probably not worth much. But when Elon found out about it, you know what he asked? How much is it? How much is it? That's right. How much is it? What if the plan here behind the scenes is for Elon to step up, buy MSNBC, and give it to Matt? That's what I think is happening. I'm not sure. I don't have any proof. I'm just spitballing, but I have a feeling that something is going to happen where Matt is more than likely going to end up in media rather than anything else. And quite frankly, if he is, think about the damage he can do in a media position, even more than from the sound bites and the viral videos when he was in Congress. He said, quote, "I'm done with Congress. I'm moving on." And that's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to have his own media empire. That's what I'm thinking. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But let's talk about Pam Bondi. So some people are going, oh man, we don't have Matt Gaetz, and now we have this, this chick, and we don't know who she is. Pam Bondi is somebody that has been at President Trump's side for years, okay? For years. He's known her. He trusts her. She is MAGA. She is America first all the way. She is, not that it matters, the first female attorney general. She served 2 terms from 2011 to 2019. So she has 8 years of experience running the 3rd largest justice department in the 3rd largest state. But here's what's even better, okay? These lawsuits that were filed in the election in Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Arizona and elsewhere, guess what? That was part Pam. Why was it part Pam? Very, very simple. Because Bondi led the legal arm of the Trump-aligned America First Policy Institute. The America First Policy Institute was created by Brooke Rollins, who was also in the Trump administration. They created it back in 2021. And this was the blueprint for 2025. See, the thing is, they had to distance themselves. Oh, 2025. No, we're not. No, 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 no. Really? Pam Bondi, big part of it. Not just that, Brendan Carr, who's now going to be the chairman of the FCC, huge part of Project 2025. Russ Vought, who was just named the OMB today, as a matter of fact, part of and was the architect of it. You see, during the election, oh, no, we can't go anywhere near that. We can't talk about it. No, we're not going to do that. Of course they are. What do you think all of this is? What do you think Doge is? What do you think dismantling the administrative state is? It is exactly this and Project 2025. See, the American voters wanted a closed border. They wanted more financial opportunity. They wanted lower inflation, lower taxes. They wanted more opportunity, and they didn't want the wokeness. And they're going to get all of that. But that's what they're going to get. What about us? What about the grassroots? What about MAGA? What about the real hardcore conservatives? We're going to get all the extra stuff. You know, the Doge and everything else, that's going to be all extra for us, which is dismantling of the administrative state and then going after the people that did the things that they did. So I wanted to kind of point that out because I'm actually thrilled that she is going to be the Attorney General. And, you know, here's another thing. Matt could, because he's probably going to be a person, because of who he is, where he's not going to get a fair shake in a nomination process, no matter what position he is. So she could hire him tomorrow as her chief of staff of policy and prosecutions. I mean, Walter would know. He's a lawyer. He understands. You don't need a Senate confirmation for that. So if he doesn't go into media, he could do a number of these things. Hell, they could appoint him to be the U.S. attorney for the District of Florida, for the entire state of Florida. He wouldn't be able to go after people in New York or Georgia, but he would be able to go after Jack Smith. He would be able to go after the Mar-a-Lago raid. He'd be, you know what I mean? So there's a lot, is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of things that Matt can do. And just because he's not Attorney General does not mean that he's not going to have influence and or a position possibly in the current administration coming in. So that's pretty good. And that's why I wanted to kind of point that out. So she's the one that helped file the lawsuits in the election to make sure that President Trump got elected. That's why I am excited about her. I think she's going to be great. And the greatest part is she's probably going to fly through the nomination because she's not that controversial in a lot of ways. She's done things quietly for all these years. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of think about that. And, you know, I think that's going to be something that's going to be really good. Now, these are Trump administration people that have ties to Project 2025. I said Brendan Carr, that was one. He's going to be the head of the FCC. Tom Homan has ties to that. John Ratcliffe has ties to it. You know, maybe it's good that I am censored right now because I'm really kind of spilling some beans here. But anyway, so these are some of the nominees. And this video here, this is from the OMB director. And this is with Tucker Carlson, an interview. It's only 1:33. But here's how you know that the right people are in charge. Listen to this.
So you ran OMB before, and you don't have to comment on this. It sounds like you are very likely to run OMB again. Tell us what OMB is for those who aren't from Washington, what it does and what you would do with it.
So OMB is the nerve center of the federal government, particularly the executive branch. So it has the ability to turn on and off any spending within the
Office of Management and Budget.
Office of Management and Budget. It has the ability to turn off the spending that's going on at the agencies It has all the regulations coming through it to assess whether it's good or bad or too expensive or could be done a different way, or what does the president think? And then all of government execution. So anytime you have cabinet executive branches conflicting with each other or working together on something, for instance, the wall, the president wanted to fund the wall. We at OMB gave him a plan to be able to go and fund the wall through money that was the Department of Defense, and to use that because Congress wouldn't give him the ordinary money at the Department of Homeland Security. So it really is, presidents use OMB to tame the bureaucracy, the administrative state.
There it is. You heard it directly from him. And Russ Vought was actually appointed OMB tonight, I believe. And he is, let's see here, where is it? Here it is. Is this it? Yeah. So let me see here. So let me pull this up. So Vought, okay. Vought authored Project 2025's chapter on the executive office of the President of the United States, and also reportedly spearheaded the project's playbook for Trump's first 180 days. He's now the OMB, okay? And Trump went nuts, and he put a whole bunch of people up tonight. Let me see if I can find where it was. Thank you. Is that it? Keep doing this lately. I know I have it. Hang on. Where did it go? That's all right. I can find it here in just a second. Here it is. I got it right here. Okay, so these are the people that he has already appointed. But so let's see. Pleased to announce Scott Turner from the great state of Texas as the Secretary of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Scott is a former NFL player with the Washington Redskins, who during my first term served as the first executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, helping to lead an unprecedented effort that transformed our country's most distressed communities. Those efforts, working together with former HUD Secretary Ben Carson, were maximized by Scott's guidance in overseeing 16 federal agencies, which implemented more than 200 policy actions furthering economic development. Under Scott's leadership, Opportunity Zones received over $50 billion in private investment. He also nominated Marty Makary, a doctor, for the FDA commissioner. And this guy has been someone that has been anti-lockdowns, he's been anti-vaccines, he's been for ivermectin, he's been for all alternative, cures, different kinds of medicines and things like that. And he's been censored, he's been banned, he's been thrown out of conferences. That's the thing, these are all disruptors. Just about every pick is a disruptor. And that's like the best thing. They have all either, they've either litigated against the agencies they're going to be running, whistle blew against them, or publicly smeared them or said something about them or tried to change them from the outside. Now they're going to be able to change them all from the inside. So it's just awesome. And he's gone on to do way more. Let's see. Congressman Dave Weldon, nominated to serve as director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. He's an Army veteran, medical doctor of 40 years. So we're getting people with experience back in these positions. Let's see. Dr. Jeanette Neshawat will be the nation's Surgeon General. I don't know too much about her. Let's see. Alex Wong will be appointed Assistant to the President and Principal Deputy National Security Advisor. Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer is going to be the Secretary of Labor. So he's been busy. There's a lot of people he's put up here. Who's the Secretary of the Treasury is going to be Scott Bessent. That was appointed, I think, today. And then a bunch of more, Ludnick, Peter Hoekstra. There's just so many of them. But a lot of these people, most of them, not all of them, but most of them are either America First or at least conservative Republicans. So Let's talk about some of this. We'll start the other direction. Carol, so what are your thoughts so far? And let's say you had to give a grade. And again, they haven't performed yet. They're just names really at this point. But from I guess from an A to F, what would you say overall the grade President Trump deserves on his picks?
A, I'm happy with it.
An A. Okay, good. What about you, Scott? Or Walter, I meant, sorry. It says Walter Scott. I forget.
I think a B.
Okay. And why the B?
I think Ken Paxton, which would have been a much better choice as Attorney General. And I think that he could have utilized who's the guy that you really like, Steve Miller.
Steve Miller's good too, but Mark Davis, you mean?
I think he could have utilized both of them in better positions.
Well, he still might. I mean, FBI director is still open. Oh, good news on that. He said he's not going to put Mike Rogers in that position. He said it wasn't even a thought, so he doesn't know where that came from. It's possible that it could be Kash Patel, but who knows? I don't know. I would love to see Mike Davis take over the FBI because, I mean, you heard him. He's just the best. He's really, really solid. He would be great. So okay, so you gave it a B. What about you, Pam? What are your thoughts here on how he's done?
I'm sorry, I just don't know that much about the people, and it's a little soon to tell. I think time is going to tell, and so that's my answer.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Carl? What do you think? An A? Okay, all right. So you're more optimistic. Liam, you've got your picture up, but oh, there you are. I see it now.
Yeah, sorry, I keep.
You blended right into it. I couldn't even see it.
I'm gonna give the president's pick. I mean, obviously an A. I mean, it's interesting. Like what feels like a few months ago, we were all up in arms that he was listening to bad advisors, picking on people, supporting McCarthy. But just like out of the blue, he's picking those America Firsters, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't had the time to research them, but I'm trusting to find like these big names. It's people that sound awesome. I think I saw something that's going to pick Dan Bongino as the SS director.
For Secret Service director. It's not official as of yet, as far as I know, but that could be happening.
The only one I have a problem with, and we're all going to agree on this, but would be the Department of Education. You know, should have been left empty. He said he would abolish it months ago, so I wonder what his plan is there.
A senator just announced tonight that he's bringing up a bill to abolish it.
Good.
Look, as much as I would love to see that happen too, I can't imagine they're going to get enough votes to do that. I mean, realistically, really think
Agreed.
that it's going to be. I mean, I'd love to see it happen. Okay, I was on Real America's Voice earlier this afternoon, and they asked me what I thought about the Department of Education, and I literally said right on television, well, the pick I really haven't thought much about because I was hoping that he was going to go there and say, I'm not putting anyone in that position. We're actually going to shut it down. We're going to fire everybody, padlock it, and leave it vacant for the next 4 years. And you should have seen the look on their faces when I said that. So that's what I would hope. But
right.
I mean, realistically,
I just don't think we have the votes in the House to get many of these, you know, America First bills passed through. The Senate, we did good, but not good enough. But the House is the exact same makeup as it was in the previous Congress. I mean, can you believe that? Senate, we
I agree with
seats.
you. I agree with you. The House is so slim, and if we have any rhinos in the House, yeah, I would agree. It's gonna be tough. Look, I've said this before. I think, you know, everyone's thinking that the world's gonna change, you know, in January, and it's just not the case. Are things gonna change? Yeah, I think some things are. Whatever they can do. See, the sad reality is that because of the polarization in the country and Washington and everything else, and the fact that we have to fight our own party, sadly, executive orders are the ways that they're going to be used to make change.
Yep.
And I would much rather see something become law and change it permanently rather than through executive order. Because look what President Trump did. I mean, he was very successful in his first term. He did a lot of great things, but the majority of it was what? It was done through executive action. And what happened? They
Gets
turned it
reversed.
and they turned it all around once again. And so now you're coming back and it's like, I'm going to put them all back on again. Well, okay, that's great in the meantime, in the short term. But what about moving forward long term? How do we eliminate executive orders, but also pass viable, long-standing, permanent legislation that's going to obviously affect change permanently? That's why I titled my book the way that I told it. I'm not interested in executive action. I understand it's necessary, especially when we have such short margins, but I would much rather see things to be permanent. Bob, what about you? What would you grade so far these choices?
You know, what I've seen so far, I like the fact that the people that I've read about don't throw up any red flags. So, you know, aside, I'd like to see him pick Ben Carson for something good, but I give him an A because he's not screwing around. He's going full bore. He's going to be ready to govern the day he's sworn in. He's going to have his cabinet in place and not have to lollygag around like a lot of people do because he knows Washington now.
Okay, good, good. What about you, Glenn? What do you think? What would you grade him?
I'd give him an A just because of the, you know, the American first people. America first. That's the way that, you know, they hated him his first run. As soon as he was in and he was for America first and telling everybody else, you know, you got to get in line behind us. We're here first. I'm taking care of us and the people that he's, you know, if it, I don't really know, like Pam, I've really never researched them, but if they are America first people, you know, I'd give him an A right now. Let's see what he is in 100 days.
Okay. All right. And then I'm going to ask you as well, Marlene. I'll throw you into the conversation. What do you think about these cabinet choices so far, and what would you grade them? And Scott, I think, is on there too, so I guess he could type what he thought.
So far, I think he's doing a great job. So I give it an A.
Give him an A. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Fair enough. I may shock you. I would give him at this point probably a B, maybe even a B minus. And here's my reasons. I don't like the Marco Rubio pick for Secretary of State. I think that he could do much better in that position. The ambassador to the United Nations, Elise Stefanik, I'm kind of iffy on that one. I don't love the pick. It's okay. But I would say for the most part, all the other really important picks, as far as the different, you know, parts of the government that are going to be the most impactful, I do like a lot of them. I would have rather have had Vivek, believe it or not, take over the Ohio Senate seat that J.D. Vance is obviously vacating, rather than working directly with Doge, because I think Elon, even by himself, is powerful enough to know what he's doing. Look what he did to Twitter. So I think you could have been a little bit more useful having one less rhino in the potential of the Ohio Senate seat. So I think that the cabinet is not done yet, and perhaps that B minus can go to a B or even a B plus, but it's much better than it was in 2016. I mean, it's light years better. Okay, clearly. So that's what I would think. I'm not too hawkish on giving all A's yet. I think there's been, you know, I would say that you have like 1/3 of like MAGA America firsts, and then you have 1/3 of pretty good solid conservatives, but then you also have a third in there of like Pete Hoekstra and some of these others. They put him in Canada, which is fine, ambassador to Canada, but some of these people are establishment rhinos too. Not a lot, but a few of them. Not nearly as it was. So I think there's been a big improvement, but it's not as perfect as certainly I would want it to be. But again, you know, I'm not picking these people. You know, I always say, you know, when people say, well, can you tell Trump this? Can you tell Trump that? I always say, look, I feel like I'm close, but I'm the type of person, at least right now in my career, that my foot is near the door. I'm knocking on the door. I can hear the party inside the inner circle going on, but I don't know the secret password yet. Okay. I'm not completely in the room. I'm not being invited to Mar-a-Lago yet or anything like that. So, and I can say that, with all humility, maybe I will be at some point soon, but at right now I'm not. And so I can't get his ear like I would like to and be like, oh, hey, don't pick this person, pick that person. Pick this person. That's why I like some of these picks that haven't been chosen much better than some of the ones that have. But we'll see. We'll see
Can
what
I ask a
happens.
question?
Yeah, go for it.
It's about Vivek in the Senate seat in Ohio.
Mhm.
Can't he do that along with Doge? Because Doge isn't appointed, or it's a system in there. It's a
Right.
but it's not. He's not going to be in. It doesn't have to be confirmed for that position in Doge, so he could basically camel back off to that one too. I know, pun intended for the Indian, but
That was
That's a
good.
good one.
Well, look, I mean, Doge was set up to basically disintegrate at a certain point. Okay. And there's new news on Doge. I don't know if you know this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be the head of a new subcommittee that is for Doge 100%. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they'll recommend cutting A, B, and C and X, Y, and Z. And then they'll take that report and they'll give it to the chairwoman of that committee, which is going to be her. And then she can then say, okay, let's cut this or let's cut that. And then, of course, you'd have the rest of the House. So, it's with the small margins, Liam's correct. No, no monumental change is going to happen from a legislative standpoint. Can a lot of things get cut? Can a lot of things happen? Can we build the wall? Yeah, we can do a lot of things. I don't want people to think that Trump was elected and nothing's going to happen. You saw what he did with rhinos and backstabbers and spies and everything else in 2016. Look at how much he accomplished with a shitty team. So now think about how much better things are going to be with much more experienced and more loyal people with him. So I do feel as though he's going to get quite a bit done, but there's no way 100% of everything we want done is going to get done. Hell, if we got 35-40%, I would say that would be not only huge, but it would be so monumental that it would create, freedom for many, many generations. And as long as the American people are doing really well and they're making more money and they're happy and everything else, then the midterms don't have to be a loss. Most presidents in their first term, in that midterm, they lose either one or two of their chambers. I mean, it's almost like clockwork. But Trump has shown in the past that he didn't lose, I think it was the Senate. He lost the House, but he didn't lose the Senate. He actually grew his numbers in the Senate. If you remember, you'd have to go way back to, I guess, 2018's midterms. Yeah, it would have been 2018's midterms. And they did well. So it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. But history has shown that so basically, and even Susan Wiles, his chief of staff, understands they've got 2 years. They've got 2 years to fundamentally change this government, cut out these people, get rid of these agencies, all the things that they want to do. They know they've got 2 years because the Democrats are going to come back just with money, with all kinds of things, and the women are pissed. The single women are pissed. I mean, the cheating they're going to try. So there's a lot of things that people have to understand. We've got to temper our expectations. But like I said, we get 35-40% of everything. That's huge. That is monumental. Okay, would everyone, for the most part, agree with that? That's a lot of change if we could do that, especially in 2 years. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I love the fact that Elon might be able to buy some of these news stations. I mean, that would be eliminating the left's ability to get their horrible message out. I mean, I think that would be awesome if he does that. I mean, imagine that if he had X and then he bought like MSNBC and then maybe CNN later on down the line. I mean, I don't know. It'd be amazing as long as he ran them like he runs X, right? I mean, it'd be really really good. But
He
so
changes the name of them.
yeah, obviously they're going to have to because
Yeah.
if they're going to sell off Comcast, is going to sell off that branch, which is MSNBC. They're going to have to change the name. Maybe it'll be called XBC. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. But President Trump said that he's going to go, quote, scorched earth. He's going to fire Jack Smith's entire team of prosecutors, and then he's going to assemble an entire new team to investigate not only Jack Smith and all of these investigations, but he's going to go after the January 6th committee, he said, and he's going to go into the 2020 election. I love it. I absolutely love it. So let's do one more round here. We'll start at the top. Glenn, so we've seen the picks. We've got a lot of excitement. We've got a lot of momentum. The margins are tinier, of course, sadly, but we know that a lot of these people are disruptors. Are you confident that they are going to be able to do what they have been put into these positions to do?
I sure do hope so. I have high hopes that they just pull the plug on the swamp and empty it, and with any force necessary. I'm just that fed up with it. You know,
I think everybody is fed up with it for sure.
well, a lot of people are, and there's unfortunately on social media, there's still a lot of bootlickers out there that are just loving the death out of the left.
Yeah.
And they're just diehard. I don't understand it. You just you can't fix stupid, not even with duct tape.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. Look, a lot of them are hoarding abortion pills. They're getting vasectomies. The men. Isn't it interesting that when the communists take over, what do we buy? We buy guns, right? Ammo. We fortress. We do all the crazy stuff, and we make sure that we're stockpiling everything. What do? Wow, I don't like this anymore. I'm gonna get a vasectomy, and so I can't reproduce. Okay, fine, no problem. And the women are stockpiling, their abortion pills and everything else. It just goes to show you, you're right, that there are two Americas, right? Literally, there are two trains of thought, and that's the battle. But here's the other part, and I was talking about this actually to my wife when we were walking the dogs earlier, and I said, if we really wanted to, and again, I think this old government dodged a bullet because there were contingency plans. I can assure you from the people that I know, there were contingency plans if they stole this election. And so they dodged a bullet in that respect. But the thing is that what happened on January 6th, that again was a peaceful protest, what did they do? They arrested everybody. And if the left does that on January 6th, which I have heard some rumblings that they're going to go to Washington, if they do any type of entry or anything else, it will be our Justice Department that will throw these people in jail. And the difference is that if we truly wanted to take out our government as patriots, as gun owners, as ex-military, as fearless, fighters and everything else, we would be able to do it. We would just say, look, we're done. You're done. Here's how this is going to go. This is what's going to be. And we'd go in there and wipe them all out in a pretty short amount of time. 35, 40, 50, 60 days tops, something like that. But the left won't do that. They'll just whine and complain and whine and complain. And they don't have that, I guess, aggressiveness or mentality to do something like that. They're not organized. Antifa, BLM, it's not enough. They don't have ex-military sharpshooters, snipers, and all that stuff. So I think there's a big difference between the two. But as I was saying, that's the difference. There's literally two Americas, and you're right. Some of them are so stuck on stupid that let's hope they don't reproduce. You know, that would be my thought on that. Walter, we'll go to you, and then we'll kind of jump around a little bit. So, what do you think? Do you think realistically, with everything that we've seen, all these different cabinet appointments and things like that, that they're going to be able to get the majority of what they're talking about through?
I think that they're going to try. I'm not sure. I know that the Democrats have been working for the last year on making regulations and rules that will make it more difficult for Trump to do a lot of what he wants to do, and will basically force him to the courts. And that's going to be a problem because, as we know, the DC judges are very corrupt. The DC circuit actually is not that bad, but you have to think it'll take a year to a year and a half for every single lawsuit to get through the system. And that kind of time backlog with the majority of what he's trying to do, that may be a problem. I'm sure that Trump's already battle planned it, and he's got non-litigious ways around that. But I think they're going to get a lot done. And I think that when people see the results from that it's going to put the Democrats further in the hole. And I think more of the left center, the ones who aren't common sense, but are not absolutely crazy radicals, I think that they will start realizing we need to come to the middle. So
Okay.
it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I think it will too, especially if Elon, buys some of their outlets to get their horrific messages out there. Carol, what are your thoughts here? Do you think that 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%? What do you think they're going to be able to accomplish?
I would hope a lot. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure, the media is going to be after him, and you still have the rhinos but I was listening to my favorite preachers, and he was talking about how he said, the last time Trump got in, he was a businessman going into Washington. He's learned a whole lot since then. He was almost killed, and so people around him say it humbled him. The God spared him, and they think that it's going to change him. And now he knows how Washington works even better. So he has high hopes that he's going to do amazing, amazing things. So I agree with that way of thinking.
Okay. Yeah, look, I think he has a full legal team behind him that he didn't have in 2016. He had, his chief counsel and stuff like that, but he's got 35, 40 like solid, awesome constitutional types of lawyers, prosecutors, defense attorneys that know every single trick in the book. And I think that's going to be a huge difference. Getting some of them, if there are lawsuits, getting some of them to either get dismissed, overturned, or possibly get to the appeals courts quicker, as well as possibly even to the Supreme Court. So I do believe there's going to be some court battles. There's no question about it. Walter is correct about that. But I don't think they're going to be years and years and years in the making. I think that they're going to be months and months and months possibly in the making, but not years. I think they understand when they bring a case, they're going to bring a case that's going to be ironclad, that the judge is going to look at and go, yeah, you're right. It's the Constitution or whatever. And if not, and they get hit by a left-wing judge, then that'll be a delay. But then they'll go to the next court higher. And if they hit another left-wing judge, then they'll go to the Supreme Court, and hopefully the Supreme Court takes the cases. But I think overall, I think they're going to do better than they did in 2016 for sure. Pam, what about you? What are your thoughts here? You think that President Trump and his cabinet are going to be as successful as people are hoping?
Yes, I think so. I'm trying to be optimistic. I know these are national level policies, and we're suffering so much on a local level here. I think we are. And I'm trying to think, what can the federal government do about election reform? Because technically the states are supposed to run their own elections. Can the federal government make it a requirement for an ID to vote for all the states? Can they do something like that? And of course,
Not
the
through
borders.
executive action, no. But they
Yeah.
can do
Okay.
that if they pass the SAVE Act, which is
Yeah.
what they tried to do in the middle of this election. And of course, the Democrats were like, no way. We want to be able to cheat in this election so we can defeat you. But the SAVE Act is one that if they can pass the SAVE Act, which would mandate, regardless of what the states say, voter ID in every single state, as well as ban non-citizens from voting, those two things alone are just so astronomical in the ability to get towards, free and fair elections. Just those two things alone. I want to see the elimination of ballot harvesting, mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, early voting. Obviously, I want to see it all gone. But if we can get even just those two things, huge difference. Okay, so keep that in mind.
Another really big issue for us right here is my city wants to have 0 carbon emissions by 2035. That means no gas cars or anything. I think we have our old cars could be grandfathered in. So I just don't think my city's not going to stop unless it's an act of Congress, literally, until the federal government quits funding all these businesses and programs and everything that are affiliated with pushing these agendas on a local level. So those are the things that'll be successful as far as I'm concerned.
Right. But yeah, I agree. Look, you're in California. I mean, it's a terribly run state. It's the antithesis of freedom. I mean, in so many ways. I mean, who would have ever thought in the year 2024 that a governor would say you can't have ID to vote? Like, what? Like, that is just mind-boggling insanity right there. But again, these are the things that some of these blue states are doing. But if there's a federal law and new legislation and that passes, well, then now they can be arrested for doing things like that. So we're going to have to see, what happens. What about you, Carl? What are your thoughts here? Do you feel as though the new Trump administration is going to be able to get the majority of these things through?
Sir mutes a lot.
Sir mutes a lot. Yeah, exactly. That's what we'll call you. What? Yes, no?
Yeah. As far as, as long as the the rhinos and whoever don't try to pull any crap, you should be able to get everything done.
Well, there's going to be rhinos. Look, like I said before, if we're going to get this stuff done, we're going to have to fight like hell. But like I said, I would rather be in this position than in the minority, scraping to save the country that's slipping away in communism. I would rather be fighting against rhinos, unfortunately, than fighting against Marxists that want to take away all of our rights. So we have to kind of look at it from that standpoint. But again, I'm going to be watching everything like a hawk. Every single thing that I see that is coming up that could be a danger, whatever, I'm going to be, hey, this is the newest battle. This is battle number 3, battle number 4, battle number 5, whatever. We're not going to win them all, but we just won one by blocking these judges. That was a big one, because if they would have kept putting these judges on and judges on and judges on during this lame duck, my goodness, Trump would get in there, he'd make all these decisions, and then left-wing judge says, nope, sorry, and that still may happen. That's the sad part, because Biden sadly stole the election and was able to put these judges in. Not him, obviously, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but whoever was with him put these judges in, and there's a lot of them out there. There's more Republican judges put on by Trump, believe it or not, but not by much, by a very small margin. So, Liam, what about you? What are your thoughts here? You feeling optimistic? You feel like President Trump's going to get quite a bit done in his next term?
Yes, optimistic. I mean, I'd go back to say, as soon as election day was over, I'm like, we suffered a long 4 years, and just like the snap of a finger, it's over with. We got better days ahead. I couldn't even fathom it. Answering your question, I think earlier you were asking something about the cabinet picks. I just, as much as these people are good, I don't have a lot of faith in the bureaucracy because they're bureaucrats. They're just pulling power out of thin air that's not really constitutional to implement stuff, and that's the playing field we're on. So take advantage of it. But I'd like to just strip down the bureaucracy, go to what the founding fathers said.
Well, that's the thing. If we can do that through executive action and things like that,
it's our playing field.
Then it's a better playing field. Exactly.
But I'm just thinking the change that we're going to get permanently, because we're not just thinking 4 years where he can fix things, but we're thinking onward. Whatever he can do in Congress. I mean, again, the Senate looks great, but the House, whatever the rhinos say, vote yes on, that's what we can get approved, basically. But, you know, maybe some pressure, you get some Democrats on board. But like you said, it's like we were able to flush a bit of the swamp out and, you know, change things for the better. So I think we're going to get a lot more good change in. The only thing I want to add as well is, had the election not been stolen in 2020, but Congress in both 2020 and 2022 were for Democrats. Well, it was split last year, but we have both chambers, so that's that right there. In 2020, we didn't have either chamber, so he would have wasted 2 years. In 2022, we had the House, but that wouldn't have been any good. The Senate, that's how you get the judges in. So I think things are going to be pretty good.
Yeah, but here's a perfect example of voter fraud still effing us, okay?
Yeah.
Because we should be at 57 Senate seats.
Agreed.
Or is it 56? 56? No, it should be, let's see, we've got
Nevada?
53, so it would have been 54, 55, 56. Yeah, 57, I'm right. Right? It should have been Kerry Lake, Eric Hove, Sam Brown, and Mike Rogers. We should have had 4 more Senate seats. Now you add another vote on top of that, which would be Vance. Now you have 58 votes. 60 votes is a supermajority, right? So you're 2 away from that. If you peeled off 2 Democrats, which I'm not saying you would, but let's just say you did, now you have a veto or, you know, supermajority. At that point, you wouldn't have to worry about a veto because President Trump would never veto his own bills. But what I'm saying is, that's where the voter fraud came in. Maybe Matt Gaetz could have been confirmed with 57 Republicans and 58 with Vance. So that's what I'm trying to say. Every single one of these seats are consequential.
Yes.
And because we only had 54 votes with Vance and there was 5 no's, it wasn't going to happen, right? I mean, he could have been recessed appointed, but then they had this delay tactic that they were going to do for at least 60 days, because I think that was the maximum that they were allowed to do by law. And, you know, it would have been a nightmare. Imagine not having an AG for 2 months. I mean, I couldn't even imagine that. Not being able to get things started and doing the investigations the way they need to be done for 2 months. Craziness.
I think we were very lucky to pick off Pennsylvania, because that's a fraudulent state.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
That was a big one. Glenn, did I ask you?
Yeah.
I did. Okay. And I think I asked everyone, and I guess Marlene.
No, you didn't.
Who did I miss?
You missed me.
I missed you. I'm sorry, Bob.
Look, Josh, can you see me?
Barely. I can see you.
I'm doing my impression of Blair Witch Project at you.
Okay.
I think, just to answer really quickly because I know of time,
Yeah.
I think that Trump has a different fire this year from before. He has a different way about him. I think he's going for broke. He's going to go for it all. I see at least 30 to 40% done in the first 2 years.
Okay. Good.
He's got a different fire this year.
Mm-hmm. I think he can get, realistically, if we're talking about 100%, I think he can get somewhere between 25 and 30% done of everything that he wants to do, and that includes HHS, you know, DNI, you know, Secretary of State, all of it, all the different positions, all the State Department, Pentagon, the cutting, all of it. I think he can get 25 to 30%, and if he can get 25 to 30% with this type of Washington, with a small majority in both. Well, I mean, there's more in the Senate for sure, but that small majority in the House, what is it now? 7, I think. I haven't seen the last count. I kind of ignored it for the
Still
last
haven't
couple of
called
days.
California.
Huh?
Still haven't called the 2 races.
Yeah,
in
I know,
California.
it's sick. So I don't. They're trying to steal it because they want a small majority. If there wasn't fraud, it would have been, like I said, probably a
Called 2 weeks
9-seat
ago.
majority. But who knows what it's going to be now? Probably 5 or 6 or 7. I don't know. Whatever it's going to be. Regardless, it's a small majority in the House. It's not a huge majority. But the Senate is definitely much bigger. It's not huge, but it's much bigger with 53 and then Vance at 54. So we're going to see what happens. All I can tell you is that we will be fighting every single day, no matter what, to make sure as much of this agenda, America First, MAGA agenda, is implemented. And hopefully, some of it will actually be permanent. But time will tell. Anyway, those are all my thoughts for this evening. Can't wait to hear all of yours. Go ahead, Marlene, and you can cut it. And if everyone wants to stay for a few minutes afterwards, I would love to chat. So